All right, we all know the joy and the drama of sending your kids off to the first day of school. But imagine doing that in a new city, in a new country, where your kids don't even speak the language.
Well, our kids did it in Spain in public school.
Who just crapped their pants a little?
Was it awesome? Did it suck? How did they cope with the language and the culture? Did they have a good first day? Did they come home crying that we've crushed their souls and ruined their lives by moving them halfway across the world?
And do we just now have to move back to Texas? It's all over. Dead. We're going to tell you all about the drama and how it went. And if you're considering a move abroad, stick around because at the end of the video, we're going to give you some tips on what we think were some crucial things that we did to help make things go smoothly and set a nice groundwork for the kids.
By the way, we are Jack and Maya Burton, high school sweethearts who had lots of sex and babies, worked really hard at lots of different jobs, and in 2016, we moved to Spain.
With 7 kids. Okay, so of the 7 kids, our 3 middle school age kids were the first ones to land plazas. Plazas is spots in a school. Can you imagine? I mean, think about middle school. Like, middle school is anxiety and angst and is flop sweats. Would it be the same here in Valencia as in the States?
There's so many things to think about as a preteen and teenager on your first day of school. Will anyone speak English? Will they be able to learn Spanish? Will the kids be nice? Will they be mean? Are there bullies? Will I be wearing the right clothes? Do I have the right haircut? Am I gonna fit in at all? Like, it had to have been crazy for them.
I mean, we were thinking those things. Imagine what they were thinking. So the flip side of that stress was the kids were pretty chill because they got to miss about the first month, 6 weeks of school because in our transition from Texas to Spain, we got here in mid-October. So they did a couple of weeks of school in Texas and then we moved. That gave us some chance to kind of chill and have some adventure, do some fun stuff, take some Spanish lessons.
Yeah, also in that month before they started school, we had to get our residency cards. We had to register at the town hall, and then we had to figure out how to find schools. And we did all of this on our own. We had no outside help, really. So it was kind of a trial and error type situation.
And back then you couldn't do almost any of it on the internet.
No.
You had to go to an office. So listen, we've got a whole video coming on the technical stuff about how to register for school in Spain. It's not technical, what do you call it? When it's the minutia.
Paperwork.
Bureaucracy. If you're interested in that, stick around. That video will be out soon. So the kids were in a pretty chill place mentally. Then we got all of the underlying things we needed to do to the point where we could register them for school. So we started going to neighborhood schools that we found on Google Maps, and we would walk in and they said, well, we have no plazas. We don't have any space for your kids. And we went to 1 or 2 or 3 of those, and finally somebody goes, no, you have to go to this, like a central office. You should have seen their faces when the 9 of us walked in and said, hey, we're here. School has already started, and we would like to put these 9 kids in school. They were tripping.
7 kids.
Oh, I said 9 kids, yes.
Math is hard.
There are 9 of us,
Yes.
7 kids. It gets confusing. So then as we're talking with them, it looks like they may have to split the kids up because there's just not enough spots in each school for 3 middle schoolers and 2, and you know.
Yeah. We were very fortunate, though, because one of the women working in the office overheard the situation going on and came over and immediately said, no, we have to try and keep the siblings together, at least by grade in the appropriate schools. And so she got on the phone and started calling up the schools in our area and just made it happen where our middle schoolers could all be together in one school, our elementary aged kids could be together in another, and then our high schoolers in a third. So even though we were still split between 3 schools, they were at least with their siblings.
Just normal with 7 kids to be split between schools. But it's a beautiful thing because, man, they really do care about education here. You know, we had been here, the longer we had been here and the kids weren't in school, even other parents we were meeting were like, dude, your kids got to go to school. And we're like, we know. But the process that you have to do in order to be legal to register was what held us up. So it wasn't just that we were slackers.
So she calls the schools and finds place for the 3 middle schoolers all at one school and gets off the phone and gives us the great news and says, they're starting tomorrow.
Which meant no, what do you call it? No open house.
No
go
meet
meet
the
the teachers. We couldn't show them where their classrooms were or anything. We were just going to take these 3 middle school kids and just feed them to the Lions. Can you imagine what they were thinking? I don't know.
So we went home and that evening created what we called Panic Spanish cheat sheet that they could each take in their backpack to school with some helpful phrases like, ¿Dónde está el baño?
¿Dónde está el baño?
Can you help me find my class?
¿Me puedes ayudar a encontrar mi clase?
I need help, or I don't understand. Basic phrases that we knew they would have to know.
Tengo hambre.
Yes.
With these Panic Spanish cheat sheets and a kiss on the forehead and lots of love and encouragement, we got up the next morning, took them to the front gate of the school, and
said goodbye.
Good luck, kid. Hope you survive. Don't crap your pants. Okay, so we drop them at the school. We go home to worry for hours while they're at school, and we have no idea what's happening.
Yes. Luckily, we were a little distracted by taking care of the other kids and getting them ready to start their school days.
A lot of pacing and anxiety. So, time comes. We walk to their school to pick them up, and they come out of the gate, and we're like,
how'd it go? Yeah,
chewing the fingers. Is bad? Did you die? Did you have to karate chop anyone? Did you speak any Spanish? And they said,
we're rock stars. It was amazing.
We're basically famous.
Yeah.
They were like, we're basically famous. So, mid-morning, they have patio.
Like a break.
And they all went out on the patio. And so some kids had helped them kind of get to classes and stuff. And those kids, they just basically were encircled by 40 kids who wanted to know all about Texas, the U.S., where they were from.
Asking them to say certain phrases in English because they thought it sounded cool.
And that's because there were a couple of kids who spoke enough English to kind of help them get into the swing of things and answer those questions, get those questions asked. What a relief. I mean, they just came walking out like, okay, school.
Yeah.
Our then 12-year-old, kid number five, he was in that 6 months of changing from looking like a little kid to becoming a teenager. And these group of girls just, I guess, thought he was cute. And so they circled up around him and were asking him questions, and they would take him to each of his classes. And for like weeks and most of the year, they would meet him and walk with him to each of his classes and stuff. It really was kind of like a big thing for his life and his confidence.
So we were so relieved to hear they had a great first day, and that really gave them a positive reinforcement and helped them be ready for the next day and the rest of the school year.
Yeah. And I think, some catharsis for like all the stress that had led up to that and selling the home they grew up in and all of those things really put them on a great track for the rest of the year. I mean, they wanted to go back to school the next day, so that's a huge win.
Yeah. So over the next few days of school, the teachers assessed the academic levels of our kids, and something that was really great at their particular school, they had several other international students that year that didn't know Spanish. So they created a special class that they could go to several times a week just to learn basic Spanish. So that really helped them get a grasp on the language a little bit faster, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Those kids became they had basically built-in friends just immediately because most of those kids spoke enough English, which was cool too, because they were like, you were in a class with Pakistani kids, Chinese kids from all over. And they were still just rock stars because they were the only Americans in this public school. Yeah, so with those connections and enough kids that had enough English to kind of get them started, they actually started going out and doing social things, going out in the evenings with kids.
Yeah. It was very exciting, and we were really proud of them. So long term, now that we've been here 7 years, they all speak 3 languages, basically.
Not only did they learn those 3 languages, but they made friends from cultures from all over the world. It really has been very cool in those aspects, not only the language, but just their open-mindedness, the things that they know about other cultures and about Spanish culture especially, and how that translates to their American mindset and life. Feels different over here.
I know, right?
So yes, in the end, it's doable. The kids did not force us to move back to Texas. We did not ruin their lives, at least not in this way. And man, like we mentioned, they learned that they, just a huge personal lesson is that it can do hard things that give you anxiety and make your pits sweat. So tips, some of the things that we feel like we did, some things naturally, some things on purpose, that helped set them up for success and really just set the tone so that they would have a positive attitude and outlook going into this mess.
Yeah, what did we do? So something we always try to do in our family is to set a positive attitude and atmosphere. We want our kids to know that we believe in them and they can do anything. And so we're always trying to encourage and let them know that we're there to support them and that nothing's too hard. They have help. They are capable, and that life is exciting and full of adventure. So don't be afraid to try things and do things, and it's okay if you mess up sometimes.
And also, I think it's just critical to know and think about, fostering that attitude of positivity and just knowing that your kids pick up on your stress, your anxiety, or how you're behaving around the house, in the car, all of that stuff. So trying to make sure that you've got a positive attitude as you go through things and deal with stress. And it's not that you don't talk about stress with the kids and ask them, what are you anxious about? Like, what are you worried about going into this? That's great. Have those conversations. But in those conversations, trying to spin it, sell them, but also just say, hey, man, that's a totally valid feeling. Let's think of examples of when it turned out great. And man, celebrate wins. Throughout this process, as we were selling everything, selling the house, we were talking about, did you know this happened? We talked about photos of when we visited Spain and showed them encouraging things to get them hype. So the idea is just get them excited and hyped, celebrate the wins, celebrate the adventure and the things that are on the horizon that are exciting.
Yeah, and especially once we got here, we tried to celebrate every small win, no matter what it was, because there were some really hard days, and
super hard.
Even though we are always trying to be positive and stuff, you have to acknowledge that life is really hard sometimes. So we had some really hard days. Yeah. So any little win, laughter and celebrate it.
We were way deep in the memes our first month here, just letting the kids laugh and be on screens and not have stress. So that's another tip, is taking the pressure off. So one of the big things we told them when we said we're moving you away from your schools and friends and family is, guess what? We don't care about your grades. You get a year where we're not worried about school. You're going to be learning Spanish. If you learn a word of Spanish every day and make some friends, that's a huge win. It may depend on what your goals for your kids are and what they're doing, how you approach that. But for us, we were the education we wanted them to get in the beginning was a completely new culture and language and experience.
We always want them to do their best. But it wasn't about the grades at all, for sure.
Yeah, and part of the way we talked about that was look, you guys are smart. You know how to learn. You're already making good grades in your schools. So we're not worried about that for you. Let's learn Spanish. Let's make friends. Let's go to Sagrada Familia.
Some things we also did before we moved, and then our first month here before they started school, was try to learn Spanish a little bit, at least enough.
Start early.
That they wouldn't just be starting at zero on their first day of school. So there's some really great podcasts out there that teach conversational Spanish. There's Duolingo and apps like that where you can start with basic grammar. You can even just put on YouTube videos of cartoons in Spanish or something.
Oh, yeah.
If you have younger kids, there's tons of resources out there for things like that to help give your kids and yourself.
And then one more tip, the attitude is just, it's kind of no big deal. The truth is people are doing this all the time. People go to new schools all the time. They have to move for work, jobs, or whatever. No matter what, your kid has to do a first day of school every year, right? So talk about those things and be like, look, man, this is just life. This is how life happens. And we're just going to happen to it. We're going to go for it. And we're going to have an adventure.
And in the end, kids are sponges. They're adaptable. And they are all going to end up needing therapy anyway, so...
Listen, we do have more videos coming about the technical aspects of registering for school, registering. The different, some of the major cultural differences between school in Spain and the States. So if you're interested in that, bonk the little subscribe button, please like the video, and we will see you in one of those.